Tomorrow, tomorrow, I love ya. Tomorrow, you're only a day away. Okay, Pika, this is not a musical tribute station. We cover comic books here. Well, we're gonna have a little crossover there, aren't we? Because Andy was a comic, huh? Yeah. Hey there, welcome back. It is time once again for the golden age of DC Comics 365 days, where I take this beloved hardcover coffee table book given to me about 2 decades ago by one of my best friends. This has been surfing my coffee table ever since and has been a constant source of comic book shop style conversations, the kind I wish to recreate today here with you. Pull up to the coffee table. What goes better with a coffee table book and some coffee table talk? Some freshly brewed coffee. So pull up a chair and bring a cup of whatever your favorite is. Slancha, skol, salud, l'chaim, to your health. Prost. Genki. Ooh, this is amazingly good coffee. I'm glad you could drop by today. We are using this 365 days book for its intended purpose. We are going to open up to today's date, which is December the 3rd. We're going to look at some comic book art of an antediluvian age. We're going to read the blurb, and then we're going to talk about comic books. And we're going to talk about comic books every day for the rest of the year. We've been talking about comic books every day this year. The year is winding down. We're in December. We only have very few days left to cover this book. What shall we do next year? We'll talk about that later, but let's get to today's subject matter at hand. The Golden Age runs between 1938 and 1955. The Silver Age between 1956 and 1970. The Bronze Age between 1970 and 1985. I'm a Bronze Age baby myself. And the Copper Age begins in 1985. I get these standards and definitions of the ages from the glossary of the Overstreet Comic Book Price Guide. This is a great resource. This is a 2004 Abrams publication, written and curated by Chip Kidd, Geoff Spear, and Les Daniels. There is a link in the description to the Amazon page where you can get your own copy. You could play along at home. It would look great on your coffee table too, and it makes a great gift for a geek. I know. There's a link to the Overstreet Price Guide there too, because I'm getting a new one next year because I think it's going to be an important component to next year's show. Probably I don't an announcement. No, I'm just gonna do it. It's gonna start airing January 1st, next year. I wanted to make evergreen content. I didn't want to really anchor. I've only mentioned the year of production a few times this year because this is just one of the best things about this book is it's evergreen. And 1 out of every 4 years, the dates actually coincide with the calendar, and we've lucked into that year. So we have that syzygy, the planets aligning, and but this book here is going to figure out into next year's show. I'm gonna do I'm gonna call it B3, bag, board, and box. I need a bag, board, and box my entire collection. I'm sure I have at least 365 single-issue comic books of different publishers from different eras, and of different qualities and with different stories, both internal and external. And so we're going to maybe an issue or two every day. We're going to talk about it. We're going to show a comic book. We're going to talk about the experience of a monthly floppy. Yeah, that's for me. That's the great experience of being a comic book fan. The cereal, the anticipation, the going to get it at the comic book store. It used to be a lot different too, with newsstands and spinner racks, which aren't out there anymore. Really, not really. Maybe at a Walmart. I don't go to Walmart's. I'm in a city. But part of that show, I'll also want to include. I want to look up its value. Why not? This is one of the industry standards of how valuable is my collection. Well, let's find out. Awesome. Let's get to the show. Thank you so very much. It is December the 3rd. Let's open up here. Oh, it's story by Otto Binder. Pencils by Kurt Swan, the famous Silver Age Superman artist. Inks by John Fischetti from Action Comics 141, February of 1950. Tommy Tomorrow. Dun dun dun. The unearthly jungles of Venus, the fierce red deserts of Mars, the icy planet Pluto, and the lightning world of Mercury. There is one world on which all of these exist, and their dangers exist there too. Tommy Tomorrow must brave untold amazing peril as he is assigned to snare a spy on dun 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 anywhere we want. I was going to say Titan, one of the moons of Saturn, or Europa, where we shouldn't be landing, according to 2010. 2001: A Space Odyssey had a sequel. And let's read the blurb. Tommy Tomorrow, who got his start in 1946 in Real Facts Comics, was a science fiction character who eventually found a more appropriate home in the pages of Action Comics. Initially a teenage space cadet, Tommy eventually rose to the rank of Colonel of the Planeteers. In this story, he sends 4 young recruits to Training World, where they must brave the perils of 50 worlds in one, just as he did many years earlier, but still in the future as far as the readers were concerned. Tommy Tomorrow. I've never read anything with this character. It's actually one line I do remember from one of my favorite all-time comics. But I did not grow up reading Tommy Tomorrow comic books. And he was pretty much, not being used by the time I was growing up. Like when I was a kid, we had like comic book characters like Ambush Bug. And, Fred Hempek destroys the Marvel Universe. And this was before Deadpool touched anything. And so we had funny books. Yeah. So let's read from the wiki. Yeah, I did it. I do that I'm going to be consistent, shit. Does he use butter in his crust? Yes. He's consistent. Thank you. Sorry about that. Tommy Tomorrow is a science fiction hero published by DC Comics in several of their titles from 1947 to 1963. He first appeared in Real Facts Comics number 6, which is funny because he's a space cadet who was born who graduated from their Spaceport West Point Academy in 1988 and is now a hero. I was the colonel of the Planeteers in 2050 in the 21st century. Indeed. But he first appeared in Real Facts Comics number 6, and that was published in January of 1947. So here you have this kind of like Buck Rogers, Flash Gordon, but a DC property. And he's got this. I'm looking at one of these issues here, a 12-cent issue of Tommy Tomorrow and the Planeteers of Showcase Presents. And that's something I'm going to try to work on for the next iteration of the show is maybe more visuals. Because why don't I show this image? It's moot. It doesn't matter. I'm trying to maybe more of a podcast kind of. Maybe someone's listening to this and just being like, I'm driving the car. I don't have time to be looking distracted, running over this little old lady in the crosswalk because I'm looking at Sully's, suggestions. No, just listen. this is like we're having a conversation. We don't have to, I don't have to go there. I kind of like this laid back kind of style. So if you think I should be showing more, cover art, let's suggest so. If you think it's fine the way it is, let me know. I'm asking. Thank you. He was created by Jack Schiff and George Kasdan and a couple of others. The comic was originally intended to feature non-fiction tales in the style of Ripley's Believe It or Not, which was one of the most popular newspaper dailies. Remember, the newspapers were where the top-tier comic strips were. Comic books were kids' game. Everyone read newspapers. Only kids read comic books. Maybe is that the same today? Maybe it's the flip on that. I don't know. But Tommy's trip to Mars was presented as a future vision of space travel. The strip was a backup feature in Action Comics from issue number 127 of December of 1948 to 147 in August of 1950. And this is great too because, so Tommy graduates from West Point in 1988, which is like from Spaceport. He's a colonel in the Planeteers, and Gotham City is the capital of not only the Earth, but the entire solar system, not Metropolis. Maybe Superman's presence there got it destroyed or something by the 21st century. Something. No. Every planet, every moon, and even many asteroids in the solar system seem to have some weird alien life form or sentient race in this series, even with an ocean, a life-giving ocean on Venus. Very Ray Bradbury as well, too. Ray Bradbury was contemporary to this period. Ray Bradbury is one of the most interesting and awesome science fiction authors. I grew up reading his short stories and novels, specifically Fahrenheit 451. Which is really interesting. Sci-fi can, when used correctly and deftly, can be a very powerful allegorical tool. When things aren't so quite on the nose, when you are allowed to have you're not really talking about real life things. You're making stuff up, but we only have real life to pull from. It's so Ray Bradbury stories, if you can get out there. But Tommy Tomorrow, yeah. The character was meant to be some sort of future everyman, but he slowly changed into a policeman and moved on to other titles. Indeed. After a short time, Tommy was retooled and presented again in Showcase 41, but did not get another series. Indeed. And this is where I know him from. I'm a huge fan of Crisis on Infinite Earths, the 1986 mega crossover that changed. It was a huge superhero story of DC Comics. It was the story of DC Comics in a way, too. And there's a Jack Kirby creation called Kamandi, The Last Boy on Earth. And it was shown in the aftermath of Crisis on Infinite Earths. It was shown that the great disaster that created Kamandi's world did not happen. That future was averted. And the boy who would have grown up to be Kamandi instead grew up to become Tommy Tomorrow. That's nice. See, that's retconning, but see, retcon's it cuts both ways. It can be really cool, or it can be very, damaging. I guess, it all depends on who's wielding the sword, and the pen is mightier than the sword. So they say, don't. I was going to mention something more about Little Orphan Annie because I opened up the show with that Tomorrow song. Little Orphan Annie was one of the most popular comic strip, daily newspaper comic strips ever. It debuted in 1924 and it ran until June 13th of 2010. It inspired movies, a Broadway stage play in 1977, which then had a traveling, city to city road show. Like it premiered in Chicago, L.A., and then Boston. And my mother took me to that first run of Annie when I was a child, and hearing those songs brings me the feels. It might turn me a little Kevin Smithy. Sorry, I like the guy. I'm giving Kevin Smith a break. I'm not going to make fun of Kevin Smith. I love Kevin Smith. He's not supposed to be here. He knows that. Like, every day's a gift. That's where he's coming from. I know, he's a bit much, but so am I. I am. I'm a bit much. Ask anyone that knows me in real life. I can be quite, much at times. And God bless them that they're still in my lives. So I'm going to give Kevin Smith a huge break. But you turn on any of these Annie songs, maybe he's rich, maybe he's fine, as long as he's mine. Maybe the waterworks start. I hope I don't get a copyright strike for like the algorithm in my pitch perfectness. But Annie, I grew up on Annie. I love Annie, and I saw Annie, and I listened to that soundtrack endlessly. And there was this, and the character now appears occasionally as supporting cast in Dick Tracy. Wow. This is why doing this show is pretty cool. Dick Tracy is ongoing, and it's been ongoing since October 4th, 1931. Isn't that cool? Alrighty, that is... Tomorrow, let your bottom dollar that tomorrow there'll be sun. And I pick up my chin and grin and say, aw, there's a tomorrow for little orphan Annie, too. We've been talking about comic books. I adore this stuff. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We've been talking about comic books, and we're going to talk about comic books every day for the rest of the year. Thank you for tuning in. God bless. Namaste. Good luck. I would love to earn your subscription. We're growing my little channel here. We have daily content about comic books. We got regular content about cooking and about spirituality, gratitude, and purpose. And hopefully there's something here for you. So tune in and keep tuning in. Thank you so much. Namaste. Good luck. And we will see you tomorrow in those funny pages. Tomorrow. Cheers. Bye-bye.